Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm Ritika, working as a HR and event executive at GHRC. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to today's webinar, Thrive in the Modern Workplace, Psychology-Backed Strategies for Resilience and Focus. In today's fast-evolving work environment, resilience, focus, and well-being are essential for both individuals and the organizational success. This session will explore practical, research-backed strategies to create a culture of trust, enhance concentration, and manage workplace stress effectively. Whether you are an HR professional, a leader, or an individual contributor, you will walk away with an actionable tool to thrive in your work life. We are honored to have with us Avanti Bammanhalli, a highly respected well-being and a leadership consultant. Avanti is the co-founder of Conscious Together and holds a master's degree in psychology. With over 2 decades of experience in leadership development across Stockholm, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Bangalore, she brings a truly global perspective to workplace well-being. Her expertise in fostering psychological safety, resilience, and high performance makes her an invaluable guide for today's discussion. So let's get started. Avanti, over to you.
Ritika, thank you so much. It is such pleasure to be amongst the amazing group of people I'm here with. I was listening to everyone's introductions for the last 30 minutes, and I'd like to begin with saying a big thank you to Rameshji and Subha, of course, and Ritika and the entire GHRC team for creating this platform, for bringing people with like minds and divergent minds together to create new ideas, to create new ways of working. And as someone who lives outside of India, I'm truly still very connected with India back home. I think I carry a piece of my land with me everywhere I go. But I also think it's time for me to come back and bring back my gifts to India. I think that is very important for me. What I read through my research into this webinar and putting these slides together, I believe that there is work that we cannot do alone. And I'm glad to see people like Janki, people like Vaishnavi, Esna. I mean, it's fantastic to bring these group of professionals together. Preeti. So I know I'm a little women biased, but I think we also bring a lot of strength into the team. So with that, I'd like to begin with thanking you all for being part of this very late night evening sort of presentation. I will have to work a little bit hard to keep you up and alert, but I hope with questions and leaving your comments in the chat box, I make it equally fruitful for you. I do not want to take on the full responsibility to speak this evening, but I hope your comments, your experiences from workplace across India, actually, I mean, this is such a fantastic group of people that we're able to create new knowledge that'll help us all starting tomorrow. So with that, I'd like to now take permission to begin sharing my slides. Thank you very much. Ritika, will you let me know if you can see my screen, please?
We can see you.
Thank you, Ramesh. So, I mean, I was thinking today, and when I was putting these slides together, I was wondering how to begin. And I thought the best way to start is to bring to you the, to bring to you the vision and mission that we have at Conscious Together. I think as a team, as a company, I'm the co-founder, and based in Stockholm, we're trying to create workplaces which bring in mindfulness to help create workplaces where people thrive, not just survive. We believe that we have to bring our best selves to work every day, just so that the good, the bad, and the ugly find a way to be seen in the workplace, yet be accepted for who we are and not shunned. And that is the entire principle behind bringing mindfulness into the workplace. Now, I wanted to start off with creating a picture for us. We're at a very exciting time in our journeys, actually, in India, where we have. Oh, do you still see my screen? Now you do.
Yeah, we can see.
So we're at a very exciting time in India where we have one of the largest population of highly educated people coming into workforce. That means our educational policies, our colleges and universities are educating our younger generation to an extent where they feel competent, where they feel like they have a lot to contribute. If you look at the amount of people who've done masters and graduate degrees, you will see has been increasing year on year since 2000. We have now come to a place where we've realized how much beneficial education is, but also we have means to be educating ourselves better. A whopping 14.7% people have now educated themselves as graduates. They come into the workforce. But what happens when they come in to our organizations? I was curious to see how this group of people would fare in workplaces. And when you look at that report, you will see I'm having trouble moving my slides. There. And so we've realized from the Gallup survey of 2024 that 58% of our contributors, 58% of our workforces are ready to leave the company at any point in time. And this has only been increasing over the last few years, sorry. If you look at the +8 and the little black box next to it, it tells you how much increase there has been from the year before. So when we look at these numbers closely, we see that women are more happy in their jobs than men are. Younger men who are less than 35 years old, or people who are less than 35-year old, are 62% more likely to leave their jobs. So they're always hunting for new ideas, new ways to contribute, and they're not finding their best teams yet. As well, people who are over 35 years old, at least 55%, at least more than half of your work groups are looking to leave their jobs now. It doesn't matter where they work out of. They could be working from home or working hybrid. They still believe that there's better jobs outside. Only people who are on site find it slightly better to be working from office, right? So that's why it is 46% people on site who feel like they can, they're a little more stable. But what is more interesting or most interesting for me here is that 66% of those individuals are actually managers and lead teams versus 54% who are individual contributors. What this tells us is that our leaders are not happy doing the jobs they're doing. Our leaders are pivotal in creating systems and processes and communities of people who collaborate and work with each other. And when we talk about how we have always done things, isn't that what we say? We've always done things this way. So we have to come to a realization that the old way of working is broken. How long are we going to accept this? When I was working in Bangalore in 2003, for example, the way we did things then is quite similar to how it's been done today. We have the same hierarchies, we have the same bureaucracies, we have the same red tapeism. And when we look at any changes in the organization, it is impossible to do it without feeling insecure, without feeling a fear of losing our jobs, and a fear of not being pleasant to our immediate supervisors. Now, how does this figure in the employee's physiology? Let's take a look at that. before that, a question. We have some really talented people in this group here. Can you all now pick up your phones or join this questionnaire and give me some feedback on what are signs of burnout and chronic stress? The chat window is also open, so if you prefer to leave your note in the chat window, please do that. If you use your phones and you're able to scan the QR code, you will be able to send me responses, which we can see on the screen as you're writing them or as soon as you submit them. So how do we know? Yeah, thank you for that. How do we know what signs of burnout and chronic stress are? How do we know when we could be functioning at higher levels, but we aren't? I love that. Lack of interest, no energy to enjoy family, absolutely. Feeling overwhelmed, chronic fatigue, irritable. Underconfidence, absolutely, yes. Fear, less focus.
Disrespectful.
Sorry?
Disrespectful, can you add?
Yeah. Disrespected, yes, absolutely. But also, is it a sign of a burnout? How do you, what happens when you know you're burnt out? Like you really physically can't get yourself to work, for example. That is the very extreme end of burnout. Signs of burnout start much sooner, and chronic fatigue is one, but of course, work pressure, consistently high work pressure could be one of the signs of chronic stress. Disinterested, no energy, daydreaming. I like that, daydreaming, because it's physically difficult to then focus on any one thing. Thank you. Feeling not good enough. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not valued. And I see that things like not valued or underconfidence, these are results of chronic stress and the toxicity and the negativity that we find in our workplaces. This is the result of it. Thank you so much. Subha, do you see any inputs in the chat as well? Would you read them out for us if you
There are
can?
a few inputs on the chat as well.
Yeah.
So
Because
XYZ, loan pressure, disrespectful, feeling junior versus senior inequality. Here's a written version from John. He says chronic stress is a persistent state of stress that can persist for weeks and months and even years if left unmanaged and can have severe negative consequences, both physical and mental. Smita says lack of focus.
Yes,
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, it's covered.
Oh, so much, Subha. And I cannot see the chat function. If I do, I then stop sharing slides.
Not a
So
problem. Yeah, we'll help you out.
yeah, thank you for helping with that. And I think, thank you for everyone who's given your input. I think it's important to realize that burnout shows up in stages. There's about 5 stages of burnout. It starts off with not being able to focus, not having enough accuracy in our work, but then there is a scale at which that grows and it ends up into chronic stress where there are days that we cannot bring ourselves to work, to not even being able to show up or get out of bed. Demotivated communication. I see that this list is growing and angry, absolutely. Anger is a classic case. And let's dive into this. I mean, if you look at some of the other great place to work takeaways. And now Gallup has done amazingly well since the 2020 pandemic great resignation that happened in America. They have started adding in elements of self-care, of emotionality, of emotions and how we feel lonely at work. All these concepts are included in their survey now. And you will see astonishingly that South Asia, you will see all the countries that have been covered in this one region. There's also Pakistan and Afghanistan and Nepal and Sri Lanka. But as an aggregate, we have the lowest regional percentage of thriving employees. Can anyone speak out what thriving means to them? I just need anyone to volunteer what thriving means to them. No? So let's try
Is
this.
it to exist and beyond?
To exist and beyond, yes. Beyond to what? Give me some more words, Siva. Thank you for that effort, though. Absolutely. To
Can I
Yeah.
add the bubbling with the energy, positivity, and a lot of bohemian to take people along with you?
I love that. And I love that in parts. I think the only thing I will change there is that it's not toxic positivity, but thriving is being able to do and feel in control of your life, to feel that you're able to do activities based on what brings you most joy, that brings you most happiness, right? You don't want to take the car tomorrow, but you want to Uber it. You have the agency to do that. You want to start a new survey at workplace, and you have the agency to do that. You are able to take control of your life in ways that you want to do, and that's to an extent thriving. To be able to be creative, to be innovative, to brainstorm, to create things comes when you're thriving, and you're enjoying your work and you're fulfilled, you're feeling content, right? Now,
And Janki, one more. Janki says, living your best life, excited to be at work, feeling in control, like you said, and contributing positively in an authentic manner.
absolutely love that. Yes, Janki. I mean, the intention is for us to be living like that at workplace as long as we can, because we spend most of our time at work. And therefore, it came quite as a shock to me when we see that 62% of individuals, and that number is not here on this slide, but 62% people are struggling to find any sense of balance. We have the lowest percentage of thriving employees, and we have about 2 to 5% people who are suffering in their workplaces, but they have nowhere else to go. So they continue living in that suffering. So when I am not feeling my best self, if I have to, go get metrics done, go get stuff done and create something new, all that energy I will carry with myself. That is number one, and something that we need to work on. The second problem here is also that we have the highest regional percentage of employees experiencing daily loneliness, which means what? Why are we lonely at work? Subha, can you keep an eye on the chat? And I don't think I need to say this.
Jaisima had raised his hand, but since you were on, Jaisima, you want to say something?
Yes, please. Thank you, Subha, for helping
Yeah,
with this.
hi. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Jessima here. So I faced one such situation wherein, in continuation to what Avanti ji was telling, so not just positively, but also sometimes negatively, where they have control about everything and anything. So be it employee engagement or trying to lay off a couple of people's. I mean, they have that complete authority. Does it also add up to this, Avanti?
You will see, Jaisima, and I think we are all trying to create our own stories here at this point, isn't it? I believe that I'm going to share with you what my observations have been, and we should conclude together. And let's take a look at that. I mean, I want you to go through the entire presentation with me to to come to that answer. I think you will have it too. But let's work on it together. Let's stick with the problem for a bit longer. What do you think?
Yeah,
sure.
correct. Sure. I
That
agree.
is-
Yeah.
Thank you. So when we
So
talk about, yes, Suba.
Loneliness.
Yes,
You said about loneliness at work here.
that's right. And what amazes me is that we are the most populated workforce in the world currently. We are the most populated country in the world, and we are still facing daily loneliness. What does that mean? We say that we have our extended community for help. We have our mums, our aunts, our uncles, and brothers to help us get out of problems. But why are we still feeling lonely? What do you think?
Unsupported, like, unsupported or probably disconnected.
Yes. And so when we talk about loneliness, then does anyone feel lonely at their workplaces right now?
Sometimes some HRs, when they don't have a team, playing individual role, in an entire organization, and only one HR, a single person playing a role in organization, so can feel lonely at certain times. Why? Because uh, uh, different teams operate from different locations, and maybe that disconnectivity can probably feel loneliness for in HR team. And also same thing even for employees, if any role specific expertise, no other team members in a department, only one person is operating, then definitely that might probably feels lonely. And yeah, like in the same way, if there's no one at home, or if there's nobody around, we might probably feel lonely. Or we might, when we go to movie, when we don't have friends around, yes, we might probably feel lonely. So yeah, those examples.
Thank you so much. Is that Ashwini? Thank you, Ashwini. I cannot see anyone but my own slides, so my apologies. But yeah, no, thank you for that input. And it's interesting that you say you feel disconnected because you're the only one who's probably the expert in the team, right? If you come to Stockholm, for example, I wanted to share something from this side of the world. But if you come to Stockholm and you go to a coffee shop, you will see a coffee shop with about 50 seats, for example, which
I'm
is
sorry, Avanti, just a small correction. I don't feel lonely, but just said that some people might feel lonely. I embrace the loneliness, so I'm one kind of that person.
okay. Thank you for correcting. Thank you for confirming that. But yes, now I'm going back to the example that I'm sharing. So in Stockholm here, because we want to be efficient with how many staff we have, with how much money we want to spend on establishments, we see a stark reality where we are very understaffed and teams have to make do with very few staff. And there is a physical need for people to be connected and work together, and that is a problem here in Stockholm, but also in India, where we don't have relevant people we can talk to, that we don't have a network. Like Ramesh was saying, our network is our network. How do we create those associations with people who are doing similar jobs, who are facing similar issues like we are facing? These are things that we need to learn as we grow in our careers, and this is something that is not happening. So also why we see the high numbers in daily loneliness. The third most important thing and very critical to the clinical psychologists that we have also
To interrupt you, Avanti, are you changing your slides? Is it moving? I'm not seeing the slides getting moved. Is that what is happening?
No, I'm not moving. I'm just moving to the third
Oh,
point.
sorry then. That's okay. The slides are the same as the Gallup 2024. Okay.
That's right. Yes, I'm still talking to the final point. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. So the final nail in the coffin for me was the highest regional percentage of employees experiencing daily anger. Now, for me as a meditation teacher or a mindfulness teacher or a psychologist, I believe that when there is emotionality that is shown at the workplace and people are not able to regulate it, there are deeper reasons for why that is happening. If somebody feels angry at work every day, and the question in Gallup here was, when did you feel anger last? And a lot of people said yesterday. And so we are seeing here establishing an emotion of anger and an underlying sadness that is shown in our workplaces. And that is a fascinating sort of space that we can work on as psychologists, as coaches, and as HR members. Subha, can you look if there are any questions in the chat box, please?
Not as yet. No, I'm on it. Not as yet. Jaysima made some joke, but it's fine.
He's trying to keep it light. So
Yeah.
I want to bring the attention then to why we should pay attention to stress and anger and sadness. Why is it so important that we talk about this and have a whole webinar around it? So when you look at some studies that are done by, and this one I picked today was done by the Yale School of Medicine, you will see that an MRI scan done on brains here have shown a correlation to all the stressful events that a person has had in their life. And these don't have to be very stressful events, where it could be, mildly stressful events. And there's a correlation to how much reduced yellow regions there are in the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate region. Now, if you look at these yellow regions here, these are showing reactivity, or these are showing activity where the brain is then able to create a sort of regulation, right? In terms of our emotion, in terms of our willpower, we are able to extend our willpower better when you see more yellow lights in these regions. Now, what is interesting is both these regions, the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate, are meant to help with controlling ourselves, knowing when to speak, knowing how to present ourselves, knowing how to get our work done accurately, and for emotion regulation, to manage our anger, sadness, to be able to take stock of how we feel on a daily basis. But when stress shows up and trauma shows up in our brains, the stress is actually killing our brain slowly and steadily. It first kills creativity and then productivity. And if you ask me how, there are two networks that are a problem. When brain regions, there's a threat network, which is like a alarm bell going on. If you know that there is danger, then this alarm bell rings in our brains, and that makes us super vigilant. We are in a position to either fight, or flee, right? So we are in that threat vigilance position. And when you look at trauma-based brains or stress-based brains, you will see that there is hypervigilance. So they get fearful more easily, they get more anxious more easily, they perceive threats when there is no threat, really. So our perception of reality becomes skewed, right? So the first problem is that our threat network is now hypervigilant. But then the second is that our salience network, which is responsible for attention and focus, is also compromised. That means we are not able to tell when we should be hypervigilant, but we are also not able to do our jobs well because our brains have been hijacked. I'm going to let that sit with you for a couple of minutes. The amount of stress we have in our lifetimes slowly accumulates and shows up in our brain regions, dulling those parts which help us be creative and productive. The threat network makes us hypervigilant, and our salience networks are compromised, which mean that we have less attention and focus, and we do not have the bandwidth to manage this move between becoming vigilant and becoming attentive and focused. That correlation or that switching back and forth between perceiving threat and being attentive is now slowly losing. So our efforts to be able to switch between tasks reduces. We then show up in ways to need more coffee, need more alcohol, need more, food, samosas every day. I used to have one, but I need 3 now to make any sense of this. Our brain is not able to keep up with all the stress hormones that are now filling in to our system. I'm going to pause a minute here for any questions if there are, or comments actually.
Jay, go ahead. He raised his
Yeah,
hand.
sure. Hi, thank you. Avanti, I think it's great to hear you. I'm wanting to share a similar incident that had happened to me in my initial days of the career. It was I think I was 4 5 years plus of this years of experience, and there was this company where I was working. My immediate boss, he was just 2 to 3 years senior to me in experience and in age. So there were certain days wherein he only used to keep me idle. I was just sitting in my office. I was not doing any work. Was not giving any work to me at all. The only reason being that I was from an executive search background. I used to do leadership hiring, and he was already doing that work in his company. And I was a CMD reference, and I
Right.
was probably maybe slightly higher than what he was got exposure to. That's what my feel is. So at times, if I was wanting to work for some senior mandates, leadership hiring mandates, so this was the kind of what do you call a discomfort that he was facing with me. He used to just not give me work at all. I used to sit idle for 2 3 days continuously, and that created a lot of distraction, discomfort, that anger, that what you said just now. All these things I faced it myself. So I somehow didn't know what to do. But while going back home, I used to go with a group of colleagues and carpooling. So that time I used to relax and probably try to burn out. Maybe something that you can help me with this. What you're thinking of? Example. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
I think it does. And I think I connect with what you say when you talk about anger, when you talk about this bullying behavior and this harassment and ostracism that comes across as, it's emotionally abusive to say the least. I mean, you will see studies done in families, for example, and I know we have practitioners here who work with family systems. But it is the same that if you have a bully in the school, you have a bully at home, or you have a bully at workplace, the effect they have on you is the same. You feel less important, you feel less confident, you feel angry, and your brain cannot take it all. Your system is in a hyper aroused state at all times, and that creates burnout. So, unless you have mechanisms that will support you holistically, which we will talk about, it will be difficult to manage this constant abuse. And my apologies for the experience you've had, but clearly now you're in a better position, or at least I'm hoping. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very much. I've crossed that and I've learned a lot from that. Indeed.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing, Jason.
Yeah.
And on the chat, we have Prasad saying to us, excellent beautifully being explained without making anyone feel concerned. Also provocating to think within and around, to become aware and think what to do about it, he says.
I love that comment. Thank you, Subha. Anand, thank you so much for the encouragement. And I'm glad that we are sharing this problem together. I am looking forward to get more insight from you, actually. And that is why please also share a little bit more about, if I can make this slide work. Yes. So the question to you is, and I know we have a wonderful team sitting here together as well. So I think it was the Busy Forward team, Swapna, Pranit, Shivani, your team. I want you to think of this as a collective. What are your team's biggest roadblocks to psychological safety? And like the word suggests, psychological safety is where you feel safe to be yourself 100% in the team that you're at. You know they have your back.
They have to scan the barcode or just answer it on the chat or something.
Chat works too, but barcode, actually, even the previous question, if you
Yeah.
go in browser, you will be able to ask questions too. So anyway, which way? I mean, if you have the chat function, Subha, please feel free to
Being, yeah, you got the answers. Being unheard.
preach, but do the opposite. Yes, I hear you. Absolutely. Toxic manager. Yes, micromanaging. Being unheard. Biased behavior. And all these over a period of time accumulate and snowball into bigger issues. Reprimanding a lot. Yes. Fear of being judged. Yeah. Micromanaging, we've said that there's fear, toxic work culture, not being able to share. Absolutely. Peer pressure. Interesting. Whoever's written peer pressure, if you could write a little bit more or say a little bit more about it, I would love to know.
Jessima Kulkarni. It's me.
Yes, Jesima.
The same
So,
thing that I was showcased just now
right.
with my boss.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And not being able to do expected work. So what we're saying is we are in a situation where we don't feel that our team has our back. Right? We're in a situation where none of us feels like we're winning. Anybody we speak to is either looking for a different team or a different manager or a different company. Yes? And so if we're constantly all looking out for work or looking out for, you know, for other team members, to hire others, to replace team members, and it doesn't matter who it is, be it leaders or middle management if you're here in this group, or individual contributors, the problem is the same. If you're always trying to find the easy route by escaping the problem, we just, if we don't like somebody, we just ask him to leave. If we don't like a manager, we just move the team. But unless we actually face the problem and sit with the problem, we will not be able to create any breakthroughs. Do you agree with that? So
That's
I'm going to
absolutely right, Avanti. And one of the things that we notice when we talk to the clients, right? So, all these employees, one standard maybe the issue that they face, every time they would say, oh, right, we're giving the feedback, but then we've been doing that since a very long time, nothing happens. So, we're giving this interview to you, but then what will happen? So, we were not heard when we were working in the organization. So, now that we have left, What will
Yeah.
they do? So they have this uncertainty. So that really breaks our heart, but then that's the truth, because the experiences that they have had in the organization, we cannot really, that's very true. That has happened, and we cannot really ignore that fact. So I think the psychological safety, the part that you're talking about, that's very much relevant. And as organizations and as on an individual level as well, we need to work on this.
I agree. And this must be Esna from Ace Engage. I think
Yes,
this is
yeah.
couldn't be better time to share your insight, Esna. I think this is so critical that we realize that also, in these responses that you see on the screen, we see that a lot of the behaviors, and I'm not trying to judge anybody here, I don't even know who's written these, but there could be some that can be attributed to our managers or to our organization, but we never really say what we do wrong in the situation. Do we agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right? And so if you look at, and I'm not trying to, it's not a trick question, guys. It's just saying, if we were to look at these responses and say, not being able to share, but do I share? Preach, but do the opposite. But do I do that? Fear of being judged, but do I judge? Reprimanding, do I reprimand when someone doesn't follow a deadline? Being unheard. How do I respond when someone's trying to get my time? Oh my God, वो बहुत सर खाता है, मैं नहीं जाने वाली. Right? Lack of transparency. Do we make an effort to become transparent and say, you know what, it's okay, I need to build trust with you. I'm going to show you exactly how I work so that we can work better together. Fear of job security. If we are not doing our job well, then that fear of job security is only going to increase because we know that we could do better, but we're not doing better. So my intention here is not to, not to make so many people unhappy who are on the webinar. Please don't get me wrong. But what I'm looking at is, what is the foundation for a high performing team? It is one, in my opinion, or at least with people I have worked with, is one where we are able to share together things that I am not good at, but I want to improve, and I'm honest about it completely, be it my leader or be it myself, right? So we are looking for a space where, as a team, we can feel completely honest and accepted without judgment in the way we are, in the clothes we wear, in the words we say, but that we are accepted and someone has our back. Is that right? What are some thoughts coming? I mean, Subha, please be my eyes on the chat.
Yeah, sure. And I need to read up the chat as well for you. There are several things on it. Swapna Mary says lack of clarity. This was the previous one, lack of clarity and direction in priorities and expectations. Ashwini says social and hierarchy that create feeling of inferiority and superiority. Janki says the only way out is to sit with it for the last session that we have, the previous one. So yeah, that's about the chat. You can go
Thank
ahead.
you. And so thank you so much, Subha, for that. And so I would challenge the role of who a leader is in our organizations. Are we only looking at people who are entitled and paid to as leaders? But you see that 66% of that leader population is already crumbling today because they have a lot of other pressure from other levels. They say, we use words like becoming a sandwich between the management and entry-level positions. So managers have their own issues. But then I want to challenge the notion of what a leader is. Anyone with higher self-regulation may be better, less toxic leaders. Why? Because people who are clearer with themselves, who are more accepting of themselves, who are honest with them and their team members, are better able to create useful collaborations, or collaborations that have good outcomes, have good long-lasting memories. Like I saw, wasn't it Anand who talked about Rameshji and how they have this collaboration for years and they know each other from before. So the idea is, how do we, in our own roles, try to become the best self-leader? If I can have a certain set of values and characteristics that can make me less resistant to work with others, how can I improve myself? And that is the quest that we work on with Conscious Together. Now, it may look very bleak that, we have a terrible system, we have age-old perspectives, we don't know how to change, but really, how do we start? Where do we begin? And if I can go back to MK Gandhi's, Gandhiji's sort of rhetoric, it's saying, start with yourself, be the change you want to see in the world. And so the idea is now for us essentially to bring our attention to ourselves, to the experience we're having in this moment, with an attitude of curiosity, compassion, and acceptance. Then, with a blend of what we know from neuroscience, from tools from psychology, and of course, dhyana and Buddhism, we have this ancient wisdom with us. We are able to improve our perspective on life and challenges it presents today. This is without any religious rhetoric, so it doesn't matter which religion you believe in. The idea is trying to keep our focus on the scientific way of building attention and focus. And that is how we present mindfulness. Anything in the chat, Subha? Should I keep going?
No, not as yet. No.
All right. So for the sake of everyone, I believe in actually experiencing the mindfulness than just talking about it. So I want to stop sharing my slides for a brief minute, and I want to sit with everyone and invite you to a meditation practice. How many of us are meditators here? If I can see a show of hands, or thank you, Janki. Thank you, Rameshji. Thank you, Samir and Ashwini. Jaisima, thank you. Yes, and we do seem to have quite a few people who sit down to meditate. Preeti does too. And so I want to invite you to a 10-minute meditation where you are okay with keeping your eyes open or closed, depending on how you feel in the moment. Thank you, Anand. Please keep your backs upright and away from the backs of your chair. Make sure that your feet are planted on the ground. That your shoulders are rested and relaxed. Your hands can be placed on your lap if that suits you best. And again, feel free to keep your eyes open or closed. As we begin this journey together, we bring our intention to creating a space where we allow and accept any emotions, thoughts, feelings, or sensations that may show up for us in this moment. With the next out breath, we bring our attention to the air that goes into our nostrils and as it leaves our nostrils again. Just simply following your breath. Not worrying if it should be deep or shallow. But just allowing it to enter your body and nourish you. With the next out breath, we bring our attention to the tip of our toes. As they touch the ground, observing any sensation that you could be feeling around the tip of your toes. Any sensation of tingling, or stiffness that you may be feeling. Simply allowing them to be here without really wanting to change anything at all. Noticing any thoughts that may be showing up for you in your mind. And observing them as if you were in a movie theater. Observing the thought for what it is and letting it pass. Without getting involved in them or engaged in them. Watching your thoughts arise and fade away. And as we take our next breath in, letting go of the attention on the toes and the front of our foot, to bring that attention back to the heel and to the calf of our legs. Observing any sensations on the skin, any sensations of touch or any changes in temperature you may be feeling. Simply allowing them all to be the way it is. Trying to sit undisturbed as much as you can, but allowing any movements, if they must be made, to do them with attention and purpose. And with the next out breath, letting go of the attention on the back of our legs and the heels, and bringing that attention to our knees and hips. As you observe the sensations around your kneecaps, any muscle pulls, tightness around your kneecap, bringing awareness to it, bringing awareness to the hips and to the tightness that you might feel here. Or if you have any positive experiences, maybe a sensation of restfulness, allowing that to show up without really changing anything at this moment. As you begin to move your attention up to the pelvic region and to the lower back, becoming aware of the breath that may be reaching you. Open to observe any sounds, any sensations, any distinct features that you may be feeling right now. Allowing those sensations to show them up and observing any tendencies of the mind to be perfectionistic, to want to be sitting a certain way or to want to remain or look a certain way. Just allowing all of them to show up as thoughts. As you now let go of the attention on your low back and the pelvic region, to bring your attention to your abdomen. Sensing the changes in your abdomen as you receive your breath. Allowing sensations of joy and pleasure or sadness and anxiety, if they show up the way it is, to just be seen. As we let go our attention on the abdomen, bringing our awareness now to the top of our chest and the upper back. As we continue inhaling, observing the activity in this part of our body, noticing any signs of striving and overachieving, wanting to do it perfectly. And simply remaining with these sensations. As you let go your attention to your upper chest and upper back, bringing your attention now to your arms and your wrists and your palms, to your fingertips and fingernails. Observing any sweatiness on your palms, any sensations on your skin, maybe feeling the touch of cold air or warmth. Sensing any tingling, any movement here. And releasing any thoughts, any expectations. As we let go of our awareness to our arms, bring it back to the shoulders, to our neck, to the back of our necks, observing how we feel our hair falling on our shoulders, becoming aware of the weight that our neck holds. And observing any sensations you might be feeling at this moment here. Just simply allowing these to show up for you while you have nowhere to go and nowhere to be. This moment is complete in what you need here and now. With the next out breath, we bring our awareness now to the front of our face, to our jaw lines, our cheekbones, to the bridge of our nose, to our forehead, to the back of our ears, and then going up top to the top of our head. Simply being present to how we feel in this moment, with all our senses and our body and our heart being in the same place, all at once, bringing our full attention to this current moment. As we bring this meditation to a close, you're invited to open your eyes when you feel right. As you become closely aware of your surroundings, of the room you're sat in, the chair you're in, the floor, the mat you're sat on, and bringing your eyes back to the screens we're sat in front of. I invite you to write down any comments you might have, if you do, your experiences in the chat. But if you don't have anything to say, that's totally understandable. Thank you, Janki. Thank you, Swapna. Thank you, Samir. Subha, thank you. Thank you, Rameshi. And in the interest of time and hoping to take more questions at the end of it, I'm going to go back now to our screen to share a few more ideas. Now, it has been researched, and this was also part of my research when I did my master's in psychology in Hong Kong, the idea of mindfulness helping our brains to heal, to become more neuroplastic. It generates more gray cells in our brains. It fortifies our prefrontal cortex. It adds more volume into our brain layers, which help us become more resilient. So whether or not you have had stress or trauma from the past, maybe we're just starting out our journey as employees, as contributors, I invite you to get used to sitting with yourself in this practice regularly, because then, like you build a muscle in the gym, you build a muscle for emotional resilience in your brain. You are fortifying your brain against stresses. You're fortifying your brain in managing, switching between modes of attention and creativity, of problem solving and decision making. of being collaborative yet single-mindedly focused at the same time. And you're able to make those switches, attentional switches, more conveniently. And therefore, mindfulness is really not a luxury. It is a survival skill for the modern workplace. For anyone who's associated with corporations, with families, with teams, with your own companies, you do need to spend time with yourself, working on your brain. And the formula that we use at Conscious Together is to be able to create mechanisms where we can bring in feedback, ownership, respect, mindfulness, understanding of each other in the team, learning and unlearning, because there are habit patterns, thinking patterns that we can learn to become more resilient. And to do it authentically, to do it with authenticity, is what creates the formula that we work with at Conscious Together. What we're hoping with this is that we create a strategic approach in our teams where we move from severely being in competition with each other to becoming more collaborative, where we're able to trust each other, take risks together, but with a common goal together, not for our personal interests. We're hoping to move and help organizations move from certainty to curiosity, because when we are certain, we want to take control. I want my metric to look exactly as it did 3 months ago, 3 years ago, 30 years ago. But does it really need to? Where can we allow our team members to add innovation to their reports, to their metrics, to their training programs, so that they can become curious and contribute to our bigger teams? Do we want to kill innovation that comes with certainty, or do we want to imbibe innovation with curiosity? And finally, it has been researched by Rasul Wong, and it's a paper in 2021. I chose not to put that in here. But when the organization we work in is toxic, the amount of negative information that employees spread within the organization goes up, because they cannot handle the distress. They cannot handle the negativity, the constant belittling, the constant bullying, the constant ostracism. And they feel victims, they feel helpless, they feel underconfident, like we saw in the word cloud earlier. But we're hoping that with Conscious Together's approach, we move from a space of being victims to champions. And this is our 3C method, where we become champions of our areas of expertise. We champion people to come together, to collaborate, and pay attention to the effort more than the outcome at times. I really like this, and I wanted to put this in. I believe that resilient leaders don't just bounce back, they bounce forward, and they bring their teams with them. They believe in people, and they believe in taking steps in what they should do today. So, as we come to the end of this presentation slowly, we're going to look at this one final concept that Timothy Clark talks about in his book, The 4 Stages of Psychological Safety. He talks about how intellectual friction creates the best possible solutions So when you create a spar of ideas, when you fight with ideas on how to come up with the best things at work, you become a highly performing team. But then one thing you must do is also reduce the social friction, which is how he dresses, what he wears, how he eats lunch, how we judge the other group of people. So we have to let go of a lot of other social friction if we want to bring the focus on how we think as a team, how we problem solve as a team. And leaders, be it, formal leaders or managers or informal leaders in teams, can do together nonetheless. So first thing, of course, I know we do this, we say this, we have meetings all the time, but when do you set up a meeting to ask if I can support you with something? Either we do it at performance evaluation times, or when there is a project overdue, or when we've missed a deadline, right? Can I ask you now to sit one day when there is no agenda, nothing pending, when you have no work or less work, when you say, let's go out for a coffee and I want to understand how I can better support you as a manager. The depth of conversations and the honesty that will show up in these conversations will be of a different level. Commit to practicing 1 minute of mindfulness every day this week and a little bit more next week. I believe that when you bring silence into your life intentionally, you choose to listen to the innate wisdom that you have within you, where then thinking win-win for you and your team becomes easier. And so this practice will be very, very important. And lastly, one thing we all struggle as Indians, I still do, I've been out for so long, but I still do, but it's not about being nice. We want to start being honest with each other. How many times do we not find the right words to say something honestly to somebody? If you find the right time, you find the right way, the right means to give somebody feedback with respect, yet clarity on what new activity or what the new idea will look like, a lot more people will be willing to listen to us. And so psychological safety is not only about others, but it's also being safe, feeling good about yourself, and sitting down to do meditation, or sitting down with just eyes closed if you don't like meditation, will be absolutely important. With that, I want to end this presentation by saying that we're happy to work with you and your teams if you'd like to, but also we have a discount for anybody who would like to approach us for coaching and for our resilience building guide. Please drop a note with us at connect@conscious-together.com. I will put that in the chat soon. But I want to say a big thank you for giving me this attention. It's a long time. You have been attentive. You've been a very good audience. So I am very grateful for your attention, your care, and your ideas. I'm hoping to take more questions. And so I will leave this evaluation form on the screen, but I do want to take some questions now.
Hey,
There are a
Avanti.
few details in the chat box as well. Ashwini, you want to go ahead asking something?
Yeah, Subha,
Yeah,
thank
go
you
ahead,
so
go
much.
ahead. Yeah, please.
Hey, Avanti, firstly, I really like your accent, and many items, words used, very nice. Just a question is that now discussion point, maybe uh, this is for you. Have you come across or have you encountered any challenging person in your professional front? What approach you use and how did you manage on that? Like, let's say example situation is that a very challenging person, somebody who don't agree with all of your points, and you have to convince the person. What approach do you use, and how do you manage and deal with that very challenging person? Let's say somebody who don't agree with anything, whatever, irrespective of how positive you are, right? And you try to counsel, and you try to advise, you try to do all of the techniques, but still the person somehow will not agree to you. What approach
Yeah.
do you use? Have you encountered such things? Just a discussion point, sorry, don't be offend anywhere.
I like that we're being honest.
Thank
So,
you.
question. So, I have come across a lot of challenging people, and what my default mode of thought was always that the other person was very challenging. And the moment I held that intention that the other person was challenging, it was always my mission to one up the other person, to say, I can show you why I'm better than you. I can show you why I do this really well. I know how you haven't thought of this, but I can. So the intention that I had of working with them changed from being working together to showing what I want them to know about me, right? And so there is an element of control here that I want to convince them, because they're different. I want to control and manipulate them. And manipulate is a very big word, I think. But I want to change them because they are too challenging for me. I have done work in the L&D department for the last 22 odd years. And you will see that it is absolutely difficult to change our behavior. That is the one thing that people are still not able to figure out. Why are we not able to change our behavior when we want it? Going to the gym, for example, we cannot change our own behaviors at times, but we expect others to change their behaviors. And so my intention here is to say, can we look at it from a perspective of saying, there are three perspectives in the situation. One is me, one is them, and the other is the situation that we have between us. Right? If the situation that they're in is diametrically opposite to what my intentions are, we are never going to win. But I mean, look at a manager, for example, right? I mean, managers can be pretty tough people, but they have 10 other people like you to manage who have amazing ideas, but are probably trying and struggling to find their own voice with their manager. Much less are they able to bring their team along. And so if we just put this understanding in our minds that it could be really difficult, then we will change our perspective and how we deal with them. And that is where we want to get ourselves to say, okay, this person's being really difficult. Looks like he is not able to move from his position for some reason. Can I move my position to change and see how he should be looking, how I should be looking at his? Right? So the idea here is that it doesn't matter who blinks first. Is it my manager or is it me? It doesn't matter who blinks first. It is who will find the best solution to crack the problem that the manager has. And if we bring our attention to that problem, then we will have made progress. This is only I mean, I have made a lot of assumptions here, and I don't know who asked this question. I've just stopped sharing the screen. So I'm sorry if it's still very generic, but if you have more questions, I'm happy to, if you write in, please do. I'll be happy to write back with my suggestions. But thank you for
Thank you, Avanti. I think the question was from me, so Ashwini here. Thank you so much for answering to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing, I just want to check. I largely believe that meditation is something with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
But today I heard from you that keep your eyes open and still meditate. This
Yeah.
is something new to me, or maybe I'm ignorant, or I'm not an expert, of course.
I think that's a great question. For people who could be trauma sensitive, it is very difficult for them to sit down with their eyes closed for very long, Rameshi. So if by allowing the possibility of keeping their eyes open, we usually say gaze down at one spot, then it becomes a little more easier for them to sort of feel connected to their surroundings and still be able to follow instructions to improve mindfulness as a practice. Yeah, thank you for that question. It's really helpful.
Thank you.
Honestly, yeah, Avanti, Jaisima here again. Sorry. If anybody has any questions, I'll drop in, but I think I've been talking a lot. Sorry for that. I completely resonate with what you are saying. In fact, today I experienced all these things, what Rameshji said, by my open eyes. So I was standing, I was just, I'm walking in my balcony. So I feel very energized and the air also is very fresh. So I am standing, I'm completely trying to allow what all you said. I've got some many new thoughts. While I was listening to you, I was singing and dancing. And something else came into my mind as a picture. I saw Hanumanji with this gada. That that was in my eyes, and I was singing and dancing. I don't know what all this thoughts, but I think yeah, I will become your psychology student now.
Oh, please. I mean,
But
I think we all have experiences. One thing, do not try to follow anybody. Become your own person. I think that is what will give you the most joy, Jaisima. But I like the journey that you're on. I
great.
wish you.
But I have one clarification that I need from you. Probably you can help me. I'm trying to help or trying to figure out what can be the different way to help my wife, because women at home, they find it very difficult to meditate. They don't give that time at all for themselves. It's always like, early, then kids' homework, then getting up ready, then their personal work, official work, etc. They don't even have their time for themselves to sit and meditate, not even for 2 to 5 minutes. I've been trying very hard for helping my wife on this. So in fact, couple of days I was successful. I told her that come, let's together do some small exercise, and it's been almost 8 to 9 months that I could not bring that attention back. So I've been trying, I've been telling that you should come and join me to do some small exercise. But however, we together go for a walk at least once in a week. But this meditation thing, I'm still not able to really capture.
I think, Jaisima, I love your balcony, by the way, and I am very curious why it is so light there, even at this point in time. I mean, it's almost 9 now, but anyway,
Yeah.
I'm getting distracted with that. But coming back to your question, I would say you start taking care of yourself first. Your wife love what you do, and she will follow suit. We all like to follow what others do. We like to see behavior others emulate. And I think the only thing you can do is don't expect her to do one thing or other. Think for yourself. Sit down to meditate in a room, a common room, every day. Very soon she might join you. But if she doesn't, don't hold it against her either. Just allow her to be. She'll find her time, her space when she needs to do it. We can take care of ourselves. That should be enough. I hope that helps, Jasmine.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, it does.
Prasadji, I saw your hand up. Did you have?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. It's in relation to what Ramesh ji said, and what made you also mentioned about, doing meditation in different ways. The traditional Indian way is close your eyes, sit in a particular posture and a way and all of that. Now, this is a big change I have noticed which is happening across industry sectors in India, and of course the programs we do abroad also. So adding to what you said about, the phobia part of it, a lot of people are not still used to why should I close my eyes? And I've had situations where folks come and tell me, I like everything about what you're doing. Can we keep walking when we are doing meditation? So we just saw it live actually. That's why I lowered my hand. But this is a fact. I mean, I think we should respect the folks to, as you said rightly, two things the way they want to approach, and slowly they will realize why what we are saying is a better way to do it.
I agree with you. I mean, I completely agree in the fact that I think each one creates their own way of getting in touch with spirituality or with their own selves or with the bigger universe or how you want to name it. I mean, those are the different schools, whether you see it as Zen or, mindfulness or Dhyan or Vipassana. It's all different ways to answer the same question, who are we and why we're here? So you have to build that connection with yourself. I have nothing to say. You're absolutely right, Prasad. Thank you so much for adding in.
Thank you for an excellent session as well.
Oh, thank you. Means so much. I was very, I was like, how will this be taken in India when we talk about mindfulness? I know there's been some mindfulness before. I see Janki is also doing this work. So there is work and there is acceptance. So I'm really happy about that. Thank you. Janki, you have a question too?
Yeah, not so much a question, but adding to everyone who's asking about meditating with eyes open or walking and dancing and meditating. And in my experience over the last, 10 years that I've been indulging in meditation, I realized in Hindi, in Hindi or Gujarati, we say it very beautifully. We say dhyan, right? The word is dhyan for meditation. And when we are working, our parents would say dhyan se padhai karna, dhyan se kaam karna, right? So whenever I think the word meditation, people imagine, doing this mudra, keeping your eyes closed, sitting, upright and not moving. But whenever you're doing anything in complete flow, when you're completely engrossed, whether it's dancing, painting, now the Zentangle and all the art therapy that we do, you're completely focused doing only one thing. And that is also meditation. So when you're dancing, you're painting, you're singing, you're reading a book, but anywhere where you're completely focused is meditation. And I think what I realized for me after doing all the meditation was that the point of meditation is, to keep bringing you back to a place where you are observing, right? You're just watching without judgment. You're curious, you're watching, you're not judging. And the key is once you open your eyes, if you can still have that, right? Your mind will wander, you will go into judgments, but to spot it and to say, oh, okay, I'm into judgment, and to come back to like a place where you're not judging and neutral, and then to go about your day and again see yourself, your mind wanders just the way it does when your eyes are closed, and to again bring yourself back to, okay, I'm judging again. And that's how you actually build the muscle of living every moment as a meditation instead of, just that little bit. Of course, that's the place it starts, learning, with that 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But I think what I realize now is that as long as I'm conscious, as I'm interacting, where my mind is chattering, going into, places where I'm judging or regretting or holding on to things, and just taking a deep breath to come back to the moment. So meditation is also that.
I agree. And I think our audiences, people that we interact with, I think what you've said is so beautiful, that you live in the present moment by constantly coming back to what is true, what is happening now. When your mind wanders, to come back to a full flow of what you're doing. Either you're cooking or you're doing mandalas or singing or anything. Absolutely. And I think we have a very intelligent set of people now with internet, and we have technology coming. It's a great equalizer. So we have people who have tools. It's just that they need to feel comfortable sitting with themselves. And so yes, it's good to have their attention outside of something, but it will get better if they bring that attention back into themselves as well. So
Absolutely. It has to start here and then you build a muscle to go out
yeah,
there. Absolutely.
no one to say. It could start outside and then go in. It
Yeah.
could work.
Yeah.
But to say that, are you being able to sit with yourself, good, bad, and ugly? I mean, if you can sit with yourself, you will have won a lottery. It's really hard, by the way. I've tried it. It's quite difficult. But thank you, Janki. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much.
There are lots of inputs on the chats as well, on the chat that we have here.
That's right, Subha.
This is about the meditation. So I think you have read up that. And then Preeti says, thank you for putting that so beautifully. Yes, I indulge in movement meditation where as I move my body, I bring focus to the body and connect with it more deeply.
Brilliant. And I want to speak to that, Preeti. I think we often you will see practices from, the East, sort of Tai Chi and sort of Qigong. These are all movement meditations. I mean, martial art is a different kind of meditation too, but I believe that there is more need for people like you who bring awareness to the body, because we're always in our heads, we're always intellectualizing, right? We're like, oh my God, I can think better than this. I got better than this. But really, to be able to say, to come back to the humility of our body.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Avanti, because I think that's one thing I really bring focus to. A lot of times, even with leaders, I say, the wisdom is within your body. So let's just bring the focus to our body, and sometimes you'll find the answers within yourself. And I think you also mentioned it in your presentation. So thank you for that. Yeah.
I love that. Keep doing the amazing work with you. I mean, I look forward to connecting you on LinkedIn too.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Avanti, I had a question.
Yes,
Again, traditionally people correlate meditation with yoga and the Indian form of practices. How has it been received in the West? Is it looked at it from an Indian perspective, or is it now become a global phenomenon?
I think everyone is trying to take a piece of yoga and understand it in the way that best suits them. So you will see a lot of hot yoga here, or power yoga, or where, hot yoga is where they will turn up the temperature in the room and make it really warm so that you can feel your body moving and, sort of sweat at the same time. So I'm not in the best sort of position to comment on whether it's valid or not valid, because I'm not a yoga practitioner. I mean, I do practice yoga as an enthusiast, but I don't teach it. So I'm not in the best position to respond. But I do understand that one thing that we are socially ahead of here in the West is the fact that we've gone through the social cycle, change that we've gone through in India. I mean, India is still rising up. But if you see in the West here, everyone's becoming more curious about their bodies. They are learning that they're burning out. Capitalism is not working. And then they are finding ways to still come back to India. So I think we will still see more people coming to India. Just that India is changing. We're now becoming more, how do you say?
Superpower.
Nice.
Superpower and on an economy that is attracting a lot of attention. So I think for that sake, yoga and meditation are also bridging concepts. So there will be some speculation, but it's hard to say what direction it would take. It's hard to say that. Thank you for that question.
Yeah. It was really wonderful. That was wonderful. And I think all of them are intrigued there.
It's 9 o'clock, Shubha.
Yeah. Though we don't want to wind up, we're so intrigued and interested, but I think in interest of time, we got to say a very big thank you to you, Avanti. And, a heartfelt thank you for joining us, all of you, in Thrive in Modern Workplace. psychology-backed strategies for resilience and focus. We truly appreciate your time, your engagement and enthusiasm in making this session a success. And special thanks, obviously, to Avanti for sharing her valuable insights on stress management and fostering a growth mindset in today's fast-paced, work environment. All of your participation was well appreciated, and it's very much enriching session that we have faced. And the meditation session was awesome, really. Let's stay connected and continue our learning together. And we look forward to seeing you again in the next webinar. Thanks a lot from Global HR Company.
Thank you so
you,
much,
GHR.
Avanti, and thanks to all the participants.
Thank you. Keep being amazing. Thank you. Have a lovely night.
Thank you.